What's going on, everybody? Today I want to go over all of the banners in version 3.7 of Honkai Star Rail because this one is stacked. I'm not gonna lie, straight up, this one is stacked. We have 6 Chrysos heirs who are rerunning their Sirene who's coming out, and it's just crazy. I'm not gonna lie, bro, it's straight up crazy, so I want to talk about it, right? Let's go ahead and break this one down. Now, if you want me to be honest, off rip, for the most part, there's no character here who's going to be significantly better than the other one. This is one of those patches where you only pull the ones that you either need or the ones that you want. And I'll give you some examples right now. So we have 3 DPSs rerunning right now, Finon, Casters, and Mayday. We're going to ignore Mayday because he's just not as good as the first 2, of course. So there's Casters and Finon, 2 rerunning DPSs. Now I don't like pulling on rerunning DPSs. I never like it, never have, never will. But these 2 DPSs are still meta. And when it comes to DPSs, there's 2 things you can do if you're in desperate need of a brand new DPS on your account. The first thing is pulling either Casters or Finon. For people who need a DPS right now, you're probably going to want Finon because of the fact that he synergizes with way more units in game than Casters. I'm telling you, with Casters, if you're missing even one of the units on a premium team, the whole thing just falls apart. Like, you want the good teammates with Casters. With Finon, bro, you can get a 0 cycle clear with Red May, Sparkle, and Bronya. Genuinely, it is crazy. And while I would recommend for someone who needs a DPS to Cipher 4.0 instead, if you really need either of these 2 DPSs, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you need a DPS, these will have higher value for you than someone like Triby if you already have every other support unit in game, like an E1 Ren Mei. Speaking of, there's Triby next. Just getting the base kit Triby at E0S0 is already going to be crazy. You get essentially Ren Mei with more uptime and less emphasis on the break, of course. With S5 Desistance, you now have one of, if not the best harming units in game. And with E1 Triby, you're gonna be using her forever. Straight up, you're gonna be using her, or you should be at least, because an E1 Triby is pretty hard to top. Straight up, it's gonna be extremely hard to significantly power keep an E1 Triby. And long term, through all of these banners, the one with the most amount of long-term value is going to be Triby, especially with that E1. I'm not gonna say that you need the E1, but it's going to be crazy, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line as it is right now. Next up is going to be Hyacinth though. Hyacinth's the only sustain of 3.7, and with this one, really it's the kind of thing where you get her if you need her. Hyacinth is a great sustain unit overall, but if you're struggling with sustainability, Danhang just came out for free, so I wouldn't recommend Hyacinth for that. But if you need Hyacinth for an HP team comp, whether it's with Casters, Jingliu, Blade, anybody, then she will be a good pick. But through all of these banners, I would only highly recommend you pull Hyacinth if you want to use her specifically with Casters. Otherwise, you might as well not even bother. Unless you're running some hyper niche team comp with Jingliu or whatever. But even then, I've seen most low cycle clears with Jingliu with a sustainless team comp. Now for the last rerunning unit, there's Cipher, and I think honestly Cipher's probably the worst unit here. She is good in a lot of cases, like either like a follow-up attack team, which none of those are meta right now, or in a team comp with Acheron, which you can just use Silverwolf instead because she got buffed, and that's also not meta right now. So Cipher is still a good unit. Like, I'm not gonna lie, she's a good unit. She's just probably the worst one here. And of course, to top it all off, there's Sirene. I wanted to talk about this one last on purpose. People were doom posting about Sirene, but here's the thing. There's about 12 days before 3.7 drops, and you have the entire patch to pull for Sirene. You literally get like 8 weeks to decide if you want Sirene on your account. So let me save you that trouble and let you know now, Sirene is an absolutely awesome support unit. Is everybody going to appreciate having her? No. I think Sirene should be an insta skip unless you're planning on using her in a Chrysos Air team comp for longer than a year. A lot of you watching this video are not hesitant to bench a full team comp like 6 months after you finally get it up and running, which is crazy. If you're one of these people who pulled Fugue for like an E2 Firefly and just stopped using that team comp entirely, you will do the same with Sirene and Caceres. You will do the same with Sirene and Finon, Sirene and Anaxa, whoever you use Sirene with. It will happen. I think personally Sirene is just meant to be one of those units that only people who have that long-term appreciation will use, but otherwise if you're always benching your DPSs, benching the supports with those DPSs, it's just not even worth getting Sirene. So at the end of the day, the unit that's best in this patch isn't going to be everyone needs to get Triby or everyone needs to get Finon. It's just a matter of what you need the most, because all of your bases that could imaginably be covered is covered in this patch. We have a Harmony unit rerunning, a debuffing unit rerunning, 2-3 DPSs, a sustain unit, and a Crystal's air support. So if you're missing the final piece to the puzzle for the Caceres team comp, get that Hyacinth. If you want Cipher because she's hot and you have a body pillow of her, get that Cipher. If you desperately need a DPS and you are not patient enough to wait until version 4.0, get Finon. If you can see the vision long term with Sirene and some of these Crystal's airs in game, go ahead and get Sirene. But I'm not gonna lie, at the end of the day, if you have some of these units, this patch isn't even that crazy. Like, it is a crazy patch, but like, a lot of us already have these units. If you don't have E1 Triby, now's your opportunity to get her. You know, the list goes on. If you don't have Triby at all, highly would recommend that you pick up Triby if you have units on your account that do synergize with her, which you probably do. It's a crazy patch, but for most of you, you're not going to need more than 2 of the units in this patch, assuming you have been playing consistently since 3.0 launched. Like I already said, the one that you should pull depends on the one that is holding you back the most, you know, in terms of class type. If you need a sustain, get your Hyacinth, even if Danheng for some reason's not enough. If you like Maide's tits and you just want to get him even though he's not that crazy, by all means get him. The game is not even that hard to begin with. It's just an all around the board, everything gets covered patch, so you just get what you need and then we move on to version 3.8. But of course, if I had to pick one single unit out of all of these banners, all of these characters that I think is the best one, the one with the highest amount of longevity, it's gonna be Triby. Already a powerhouse at E0S1, but with that Eidolon 1, she is... her support capabilities is genuinely next level. You don't need the E1, most of her value just comes from the base kit and probably slapping on This Is Dance, but the E1 can be a make or break for so many situations. And like I said, she literally works with most units in game, most DPSs, most team comps. She will probably work with plenty of 4.x units, DPSs, sustains, whatever. But just be careful with who you pull this patch. Mighty and Cipher are not going to be worth it unless the game has gotten easy for you and you got to a point where you can just pull whoever you want, which for a lot of you, you haven't gotten there yet. So I'll end this one off here and I'll see y'all. Goodbye.